The concept that the devil wants to keep Christians poor is rooted in a biblical idea that Satan seeks to undermine God's plans for humanity, which include financial prosperity and abundance. According to the Bible, God desires for his people to prosper in all areas of life, including financially, as stated in 3 John 1:2, Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health, just as your soul prospers. However, the devil has other plans, and one of his primary strategies is to keep Christians in a state of financial lack and poverty. One reason the devil wants to keep Christians poor is that it limits their ability to fulfill the Great Commission. In Matthew 28:19-20, Jesus commands his followers to go and make disciples of all nations, which requires financial resources. When Christians are struggling to make ends meet, they are less likely to be able to support missionaries, fund evangelistic efforts, or contribute to their local church. By keeping Christians in a state of financial lack, the devil can effectively hinder the spread of the gospel and limit the impact of Christian ministries. Another reason the devil wants to keep Christians poor is that it creates anxiety and stress, which can lead to a lack of faith and trust in God. When Christians are struggling financially, they may begin to doubt God's provision and promises, leading to a weakened faith. This can cause them to turn to worldly solutions, such as get-rich-quick schemes or idolizing material wealth, rather than trusting in God's sovereignty and provision. The devil delights in seeing Christians stumble and fall into these traps, as it draws them away from their faith and closer to his own influence. Furthermore, poverty and financial lack can also lead to division and strife within the church. When Christians are struggling to make ends meet, they may become jealous or resentful of those who are more financially blessed. This can create tension and conflict within the church, causing Christians to turn against one another rather than unitedly seeking God's provision. The devil loves to see Christians at odds with one another, as it weakens the body of Christ and limits its effectiveness in spreading the gospel. In addition, the devil wants to keep Christians poor because it limits their ability to be generous and bless others. When Christians are financially strained, they are less likely to be able to give to those in need or support charitable causes. This not only hinders their ability to be a blessing to others but also limits their own spiritual growth and development. The Bible teaches that giving and generosity are key components of the Christian faith, as stated in Acts 20:35, it is more blessed to give than to receive. By keeping Christians in a state of financial lack, the devil can effectively limit their ability to experience the joy and blessings that come from giving and generosity. Finally, the devil wants to keep Christians poor because it perpetuates a cycle of poverty and lack that can be passed down from generation to generation. When Christians are raised in a culture of poverty and financial lack, they may never learn the skills or develop the mindset necessary to break free from this cycle. This can lead to a perpetual state of financial struggle, which can be incredibly difficult to overcome. The devil delights in seeing Christians trapped in this cycle, as it limits their ability to experience the fullness of God's blessing and provision. In conclusion, the devil wants to keep Christians poor because it serves his own interests and undermines God's plans for humanity. By keeping Christians in a state of financial lack, the devil can limit their ability to fulfill the Great Commission, create anxiety and stress, lead to division and strife, limit generosity and blessing, and perpetuate a cycle of poverty and lack. However, Christians can break free from this cycle by trusting in God's provision, seeking biblical wisdom on finances, and cultivating a spirit of generosity and giving. By doing so, they can experience the fullness of God's blessing and provision and serve as a powerful witness to the world of the transformative power of the gospel.